February 10th, 2026. It's time to go over the seeds for everything I'll be growing this year in 2026. Flowers, annual and perennial. I've started many flower seeds already. Some of them are already sprouted and growing, and some are stratifying in my fridge for a little bit longer. One of those stratifying, sounds spatial. One of them stratifying is the butterfly milkweed. These, at least last time I grew them, were actually swamp milkweed. These seeds are pretty old, and milkweed seeds, from my understanding, do not last that long, so I am not super optimistic that they will actually sprout this year. Luckily, I got these this year from my local native seed group, and I'm hoping that I can stratify these in the next few days so that they can sprout sometime this spring. In the fridge stratifying, Cloche d'Irlande, Bells of Ireland. I've tried to grow these a few times in the past. I was never successful. It might have been the seeds, maybe it was my methods. Next on the docket, Petunia, Tritunia Pro Formula Mix. This is the first time I've bought petunia seeds. I did buy a petunia plant a few years ago, and I've been using the seeds off that for the last few years, but I'm out of seeds. So I figured I'd go a little extra fancy with these ones this year. Pansy Jewel Mix. This is just pansies, a variety of different color. And Pansy Cats Plus White. These have both been sprouted already, and they've been growing for a few weeks. And then there's the chocolate-covered cherry. I did start one of these in mid-December with the hopes of cutting off the tops and propagating it that way. We'll see if I have enough time before spring happens. However, I did also start what was remaining in terms of seeds a few weeks ago, and they have now sprouted and are growing. Gazania Kiss Mix. I love gazania flowers. We're in my climate, they don't stick around every year, so they're not invasive in any way. My cat is being vocal. Hello? Really? Do tell. Oh, really? Apparently she doesn't like gazanias, but that's okay. I'm hoping for better luck this year. The gazanias I grew last year either didn't do well or were eaten by rabbits as soon as they flowered. That half hour they were there, though, they were really pretty. Wild bergamot. This was a stocking stuffer I received this year, so these have already been sprouted, and I'll be growing them. I still need to do a bit of research in terms of whether these are invasive or not. Some varieties of bee balm seem to be. We'll see. But I should be able to use these for tea as well, which should be pretty cool. I have a big goal with tea this year. Coreopsis, Corusco Cream and Red. This looked cool and it's perennial, so I'll be trying that this year. Snapdragon's Rainbow Mix. I've also got these, which were saved seeds from 2025 that were from these seeds started in 2024. These sprouted much faster, but what was left of these guys, the store-bought seeds, did sprout. It just took a few days longer, and they're now going pretty strong. Also got some black hollyhocks and some Antwerp mix hollyhocks. These are, I like them. They're pretty, they're tall. Japanese beetles seem to love them as well, so I'm hoping to use them this year as a bit of a trap crop to reduce the amount of Japanese beetles that choose to attack my raspberry plants, and especially my plum tree. This one has many names. One of them is Mexican Hat. It's a perennial. I did start a few years ago. Didn't quite go well, so I'm going to hope that this year I do a little better. These seeds are pretty old, luckily. I have some of these gray-headed prairie coneflowers, which I acquired last year in 2025 as part of the Native Seeds giveaways in my city, and so I'm going to try to stratify these and start them up this year. These are all the flowers I've started so far. I've still got some more to start, so we'll go through those next. Painted Daisy. I just like this plant. It's very pretty. It is perennial, however, the one I planted a few years ago, when it did come back, it came back as just a white daisy. I wouldn't say these are invasive, but as daisies do, they do reseed very easily and can spread if you're not careful. Hello. Hi. Oh, this is where you're sitting? Okay, can I get the... Ooh, hello. Hi. Johnny Jump Ups. It's kind of hard to get a good shot with you there, lady. Shall we? Let's go. There we go. Perfect. Oh, no. Okay, this is where we live now? All right. This is your new place, huh? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the Johnny Jump Up Viola, presented to you by Liliane von Gregar, Countess of Compost. Would you like to say hi to the audience? Johnny Jump Up Violas. I'm going to be starting a few more of these this year. They are either good reseeders or perennial, so I expect some of them to come back this year. Next up, the Strawflower Monstrosum Mix St. John's Salvia. These are lovely flowers. I will be starting them soon. Once they started blooming, as long as they're in partial shade, they bloomed the entire season with very minimal deadheading. Also be starting some red Cosmos, Dwarf Dazzler Red, and some white Cosmos. Whether I start them early in the season or later in the season is TBD. These are generally really good flowers in the fall, but they might be perfectly fine in the summer as well. We'll see. I'll do a bit more research to find out if they can handle warmer weather well. Of course, it wouldn't be summer without some nasturtium. So I've got Bloody Mary nasturtium and Baby Rose nasturtium. Whether the Baby Rose nasturtium will actually be Baby Rose nasturtium remains a question, as last year when they started flowering, they looked more like salmon colored. They didn't actually look like salmon, but the color was salmony. Definitely not Baby Rose. Marigolds and sunflowers. I'm going to go through what I'm going to be growing in 2026. Not all of these, some of them. The chocolate cherry sunflowers. These were a stocking stuffer this year. I'm going to once again try the Sunspot dwarf sunflowers. These create large heads. It only goes up to 1.5 feet tall. Squirrels love them. So I've thus far been unable to harvest any actual seeds from this before the squirrels get to it. The Sungold Tall Sunflower. This one's really cool. It grows tall, as the name indicates, and it's very fuzzy. I wouldn't say you definitely don't want to grow this for the seeds. You're growing this for the aesthetics, the look of the flower. Probably not the best pollinator, but it looks super cool. And sometimes that's okay. We'll see if these actually sprout. These seeds are getting old. They were all packed in 2022, so they're pretty old. I might try the Velvet Queen Sunflower, TBD. Honestly, at this point, I might just try sprouting all of these. And then the Autumn Beauty Sunflower. The French Marigold. Don't know if I've tried these before, but we'll try them this year to see if they sprout and what they look like. And these are my seeds. These are from 2023. However, I have these seeds. I have these seeds, which don't have a date on them, and I have other seeds. Marigold seeds are incredibly easy to collect. So I have plenty of marigold seeds. There's no reason to ever buy marigolds again unless I find a variety that I really, really like. So that's about it for the flowers. Plenty already started, some in the fridge waiting to start, and then there are some that have already sprouted and have been growing, in some cases, since mid-December. If you're a Costco shopper and you buy mushrooms at Costco, save the containers. They're great. I've got like 20 of these. They're great for starting plants in. Just put some holes in the bottom. They're great for just holding onto stuff. Good things. Anyways, these are sweet peas. These were saved a few years ago. There's only a few left in here, but I'm going to try sprouting them for 2026. I do like sweet peas very much, but my focus this year is more on runner beans, which I'll get to a little later, in terms of a thing that grows really tall and pretty. These are old zinnia seeds, home-kept seeds. These are old white strawflower seeds. They were viable last year, so we'll see if they're viable again this year. And they did actually sprout as white. I wasn't sure if they would, but they did. Onions. I've only got a few onions that I'm starting this year. Bianca DiMaggio onions. I've grown these before. It's a nice white onion, baseball size if it grows right. They're a bit flatter. You can't get these in the stores, which is primarily why I'm growing them. The flavor is nice. It's a nice, strong onion flavor. These are white pickling onions. I've been looking for some pickling onions for a while now, and this is the only one that I found. So we'll be giving them a try this year. I'm getting older now, so I guess I'm entering the pickling onion phase of my life. Heshiko bunching onions, green onions. I've grown these before. I like them. They have a fairly strong flavor to them, which is what I'm looking for in a green onion. I've also got some Welsh parade onions, green onions. Those are perennial. They've come back for the last several years. They're tasty, but the flavor is very mild compared to these. So these are a good contrast. Karantan, I think I'm pronouncing it maybe correctly, leeks. I've not grown this variety of leeks before. I think primarily it's been the American flag leeks. So I'm trying a different variety this year to see if they do well. And then, not displayed here, I'm also growing some shallot onions, some shallots. Those were my own saved seeds from last year, from shallots that I'd grown that had overwintered from 2024 as they're biannual. Those have been growing since January 1st, along with these guys that have all been growing since early January. They will be going out in early April. In terms of cucumbers, there's the Marketmore 76, which has been one of the most reliable cucumber plants I've had that tends to last the longest. The Punakara cucumber, these are old seeds. I've grown this before relatively successfully. I was reading recently that these are pretty good for pickles. So I'm going to try it again this year and see if I can get some pickles out of it. And on the same topic, Boston pickling cucumbers. We'll be growing a bunch of those for pickles. And a new variety of cucumber, Vista F1 cucumber. I'm hoping this does well. Although the Marketmore did do okay in the yard, every other cucumber other than the pickling ones has done terribly. So I'm hoping this one is a bit better. Now for some tomatoes. Black Beauty tomato. I grew these in 2025. They were not very good as fresh eating, but made into a spaghetti sauce. These so far are one of my favorite tomatoes for sauce. Dark, rich, umami flavor. They're delicious. Berries, Crazy Cherry, primarily because they're a good producer. I have a big bag of them in the freezer right now that I have yet to use, but I will be making some soup. And if the soup is good, that'll be the final decision as to whether I grow these in 2026 or not. Royal Chico. I grew last year Ropreco, Royal Chico, San Marzano, and Roma tomatoes in terms of paste tomatoes. This made the biggest tomatoes. So I actually saved some seeds. So along with the store seeds of Royal Chico, I'll also be growing some from what I grew. I will not be growing the Roma or the Ropreco. The Ropreco especially had a lot of issues in terms of blossom end rot. So Royal Chico is my primary determinant tomato for this year. I will be trying Gobstopper tomatoes again. These were grown maybe 4 years ago, back in my early days of growing, when I didn't even like tomatoes as much as I do now. So I'm going to try these again to see if I like them. If not, they're going out. This is the one new tomato I'm growing this year. That's right, folks. Only one new tomato type. Wow. The Japanese black trifle tomato. I've heard very good things about this one, so I'm looking forward to it. What else do we have here? So within this container are some more tomatoes I'm growing. These are all saved seeds. There's some from going back a few years at this point, but the primary ones I'm going to be growing the Paul Robeson tomato. This is currently my favorite tomato. This is second generation seeds that were harvested. Amish paste, third generation, somewhere in here. Those will be grown in a particular location. I'm trying to see if I can somehow acclimate some Amish paste tomato seeds to a slightly shady area, and so I'll keep doing that. Third generation going in this year. Celery. Tango celery and Utah tall celery. Utah primarily because the seeds are very old, and I wanted to see if they would still sprout. I'd say I got about a 20% sprouting on them, and it took about 5 days longer than the Tango Celery seeds, which were from 2024. These are from 2021, so I'm actually surprised any of them sprouted. And now a few herbs. Rosemary. I'm in zone 5A. These generally exist in zone 7, so thus far I've not been able to perennialize any of them. Although last year I did take a cutting, rather in 2024 I did take a cutting and propagated that, and I was able to put that back outside in the summer. So I didn't need seeds last year, but I forgot to propagate the cutting this year, so we'll see how that goes. Orangello thyme, orange scented thyme. It's great. Orange thyme's been growing since January 1st. In terms of scent, already at only about a month old, there is a distinctive light citrusy orangey scent to the oregano. Rather, there is a light citrusy orange scent to the thyme. So I'm looking forward to primarily using this in beverages, in tea. This could be an interesting flavor booster. On the other side, some Greek oregano. I've already got some of this growing in the backyard, but not a lot, and it is perennial, so I'm hoping this year to make a bigger bed of it so I can harvest more, to dehydrate more, to last me over winter. Spearmint, again, I have some of this in my garden already. Whether it will come back or not is not guaranteed. I know people like to say mint is, once it's in your garden, it's there forever, but not necessarily the case, especially when your climate is as cold as mine can be in the wintertime sometimes. And lastly, in terms of what I've already started, I've got some flat leaf parsley and some curly parsley. Lemongrass, not finally. It says perennial, but it's not perennial in my region. Well, I say that, but zone 8, it's not perennial in my region. I grew some of this last year. I've been enjoying it dried as tea, so I'm going to grow a lot more this year because I'm going to run out of this stuff soon. Lemon balm, growing this once again for teas. Lemon mint bergamot. I am growing this one in part for teas, but also it's a really cool looking plant. I really love the flowers on this one. Some arugula, I'll be starting some of that in early April. I've also got some saved arugula seeds, so I'll be trying those to see. Chamomile. This is Roman. This is different than the chamomile that most people grow, which is that variety on screen here. I started some of these last year. I grew too many seeds in a cell and I did not separate them, and yeah, they grew, but not great. Moving along, we've got Ella dill. This is a dwarf dill, so it doesn't grow too tall. I've got self-sprouting dill that comes in my yard every year. I think that's Ducat dill. I expect it'll show up again this year. It's great for bugs, great little helipads for them to land on, but this one is more for actual harvesting. Cilantro. It's cilantro. I don't know how slow to bolt it is, but it bolts, as do most cilantros. Growing this for the first time, Peruvian black mint. This is apparently part of the marigold family, so it should be interesting. Flavor-wise, this is being grown for teas. A few basils. Italian large leaf basil. I haven't grown this one before. Heard it's a milder flavor, but larger leaves, so for pesto it might be great. Lime basil. I'm going to use the rest of these seeds. They're pretty old. Haven't tried this one before. Blue spice basil. It is an aromatic herb variety known for its unique blend of vanilla and clove scents. So this could be interesting flavor-wise. And holy basil. I've heard it makes some really pretty flowers. That's why I'm growing this one. And of course the traditional Genovese basil. I'm going to be growing these for some pesto. Although the large leaf basil might outcompete these in terms of productivity, so we'll see in the future if I still grow these. Peppers. The Lochauer pepper, or the Lochauer paprika pepper. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is a slightly spicy paprika pepper. I'd say maybe a third of the spiciness of a jalapeno, if that. But it makes a great powder, and I've made a pretty tasty sauce out of it. Pretty thick walls. I haven't grown this in a few years, so I figured I'm running out of powder, so I will grow it again this year. I have been pretty happy with my Lesia peppers. These are home-safe seeds. These ones are from 2024. I did harvest some in 2025. I don't know where they went. So the seeds I sprouted for 2026 are from 2024. Mulatto pepper. Grew this last year. It's a fairly decent pepper. This is a dark brownish colored pepper, primarily used in Mexican cooking. So I'll be growing it in again this year because most of my harvest went to waste because I screwed up some ferments when I was making hot sauces. So I didn't get as much of this to use as I was hoping for. The Aleppo pepper. Grew this in 2025. It's a tasty pepper, similar to jalapeno in terms of strength. Flavor is a bit different, so I'm hoping to grow more of it this year to make some sauce. Ají Amarillo. I have not grown this one before. I'm growing it primarily to see what it's like. Still trying to find the perfect hot sauces. Or sometimes not even a hot sauce. It can be a mild sauce too. Apologies in advance. Some Pasilla Bayo peppers. Again, not grown this one before. More interested in finding out if it'll be a tasty pepper. And here are some jalapeno seeds that were saved from 2025. I had purchased a plant in 2022, saved the seeds from that, harvested them, and I've been growing those peppers for the last few years. So last year, I harvested some more. So these will be second generation jalapeno peppers that were grown in my garden. Or rather, second generation of seeds grown in my garden. My focus for the peppers this year will be primarily on the jalapeno and on the Lesia peppers in terms of quantity for sauces and for powders. Lesia pepper makes a great powder. It's a very sweet pepper. The walls are pretty thick, so it does take a while to dry, but I think it's worth it. Sauces, eating fresh as a powder, by far Lesia pepper in terms of non-spicy peppers is my favorite pepper. That's it for the peppers. Jade bush beans. I actually bought these a few days ago, even though I was done buying my seeds for this year, but we know how that works. These are apparently a very good bean, so I want to step up my bean game this year because it didn't work out last year, so I'm hoping these are tasty. I'll be growing Scarlet Emperor runner beans. These are primarily for the aesthetics. They apparently grow really tall. I'm looking forward to these ones. They should be pretty cool. And more bush beans, Maxibel Filet. I've heard very good things in terms of flavor for these, so we'll be growing those. Painted pony beans. I've had these seeds for a few years, so I'm going to try growing them this year to see what the flavor is like. And then we have some Gold Rush bush beans. These are store beans. They've been pretty productive. Good dependable bean that I've grown over the last few years. So I'm pretty happy with these, so I'll keep growing them. Possibly my favorite bean so far, the Monte Gusto bean, which needs a new container because there's a big hole in here. These are great yellow pole beans, very thin beans. They don't freeze well, but the flavor is great fresh. Okay, other individual items that do not fit in the broader category. I'm trying once again to grow an artichoke, Tavor artichoke. I've been unsuccessful in the past. They haven't been a priority, so I don't really keep track of them as much as I should, or I don't give them enough cold period so that they fruit in the first year, or rather flower in the first year. I'm hoping to do better this year than I have in prior years. The Roselle hibiscus. This is being grown primarily for the tea, although it's an interesting looking plant as well. I'll be starting this very soon. the toothache plant, the Spelantes. This is being grown purely for fun. These apparently, if you chew on the flowers, will numb your mouth a little bit, so this should be pretty neat to grow, if they sprout well. Guyland Green Pearl. These are going to be planted in early April. Spring rapini broccoli. We'll see if these sprout. The seeds are pretty old at 2021, although I found that brassicas tend to last pretty long in terms of seed viability. Little Gem Butterhead. This is a new lettuce I've bought. The name is kind of self-explanatory. It's a smaller lettuce, so I'll be trying that in the spring to see how it does. Gypsy broccoli. This one is apparently more resistant to warm weather, so I'll be starting some of these early in the season to put out probably mid-April, but I'll try growing some throughout the summer to see what happens. Katerina cabbage. This one's been dependable over the last few years. This is an early season cabbage. It's a very small cabbage, about 75 days to harvest. I'd say softball size, so it's not massive, but it's the only cabbage I've been reliably able to grow in my climate before it gets too warm. Red Acres cabbage. This will probably fail, but my plan is to start it very early March indoors, and then transplant it outside in April to see if it has enough time that way. If not, then I will be getting rid of some of these longer term cabbage seeds because they're just not viable. Dino kale. I have many varieties of kale. I've grown many varieties. I rarely eat the kale. I do like kale chips, and the dinosaur kale is apparently pretty decent for kale chips. So this is the one kale I'm growing this year. Swiss chard, ruby red, and luculus, Swiss chard. It's Swiss chard. Beets, golden beets. This is what's left of my beets, so I will be trying those out again this year. I've not had much luck with beets in the past. I'm hoping maybe if I focus on only a few this year, I can get something good. Scarlet Nantes. Although I have other carrots, this is the one I'll be growing in 2026. Many positive reviews about them, so we'll see. Red Perilla Shiso. I'm going to try growing these again this year. Gold Nugget Squash. This is a smaller squash, softball sized. Apparently a lot of things are softball sized. This is more of a bush forming plant, similar to zucchini, I guess. It stays in a fairly small area. It was doing well in 2024 when I grew them, until squirrels got to the plant and completely decimated it. So I'm going to try it again this year with better protection and see if I get more harvests. Kabocha squash. I've not grown this one before. I'm trying to grow squashes that aren't as available in stores. I know this one is available, but it's not available like spaghetti and butternut squashes are, which are really cheap in the fall. So, in my opinion, based on the limited space I have, butternut and spaghetti squash aren't really worth growing. But I'll try this one. Having said that, I'm still going to try growing a spaghetti squash because I really like spaghetti squash. And then there's this guy. A couple years ago I heard about Celtis, which sounded really cool, so I bought a bunch of seeds. I have not successfully grown it so far, so I'm going to try it again this year, assuming the seeds are even viable anymore, and see what it tastes like. You grow these for the stalk, not as much for the actual leaf part. And finally, in terms of peas, there's the Oregon Sugar Pod. This is probably the only pea I'm going to grow this year. My season just has not worked out well for peas in the past, so we'll see if these work out. And that's about it. That is everything I'm growing so far in 2026. And I've already got a lot growing and more to come. I just need to figure out where I'm going to put all the plants, because I got a lot of them. Anyways, thanks for watching. and may your 2026 growing season be the best one so far. Au revoir.